There is a reason the people who build something that lasts almost always have a notebook. Not a fancy one, a plain one. A spiral-bound, dog-eared, ink-stained thing they reach for in the morning before the day has had a chance to take their attention. They open it. They write the same line or some version of it. Again. They close it. They go on with the day. From the outside, that looks like a quirk, a habit, a piece of personal eccentricity. From the inside, something else is operating. The act of writing one sentence by hand engages a piece of machinery that thinking the same sentence cannot reach. And once you understand the architecture of why, the morning notebook stops looking like a habit and starts looking like the foundation of the building. That is what we are walking through today, the architecture, the tower. Floor by floor, from the ground up until you can see exactly why a written goal in the morning produces results that thinking the same goal 1,000 times cannot produce. We start at the foundation because every floor above it depends on what gets laid down here. The foundation is a principle the lineage came back to in every body of work, in every recording, in every seminar. The deeper mind responds to channels of input. A channel is a route into the inner mind. Each channel carries the same message at a slightly different angle, and the more channels engaged at the same time, the faster the message gets accepted as program. Thinking is one channel. The thought forms in the surface layer, the conscious mind, and pushes downward toward the deeper mind. The push is real. The push is light. A thought is a whisper. The deeper mind, sitting underneath 10,000 other whispers, registers it, files it, and goes back to whatever louder signal was already running. Speaking is two channels. The thought forms, then your throat, your tongue, your jaw shape the sound. The ear picks up the sound coming out of your own mouth. The mind hears it from the inside and from the outside at the same time. Two channels. The push is heavier. The deeper mind registers it as a louder signal. Writing is 3 channels at minimum. The thought forms, the hand moves. The eye watches the line of ink appear on the page. Some of the lineage figures argued for a 4th channel inside writing, the small motor decisions the hand makes, the pressure of the pen, the angle of the letter, the pause between words. Each of those decisions is its own micro-engagement. The inner mind reads the signal as something the body is committing to. In a way, it does not read pure thought. Hand a thought to the deeper mind through one channel and the deeper mind hears a whisper. Hand the same thought through 3 channels and the deeper mind hears a chord. The chord lands. That is the foundation. Multi-channel input. The first floor sits on top of it. Picture the stick person Proctor used to draw on whiteboards for 40 years. A simple cartoon. A circle on top, divided into 2 halves. The top half is the conscious mind. The bottom half is the subconscious mind. Underneath the circle, a rectangle for the body. 3 parts. Conscious mind chooses, subconscious mind accepts and runs the program. Body acts out whatever program the subconscious is running. The conscious mind is connected to the world through the senses. The subconscious mind is connected to the body. The body is the output mechanism. Whatever program lives in the subconscious shows up as posture, as voice, as the small choices the hand makes throughout the day, as the income the person produces, as the relationships they end up in. When you think a thought, the thought lives in the top half of the circle. It might filter down to the bottom half. It might not. Most of the thoughts a person thinks in a day stay in the top half and dissipate without ever making it down. When you write a thought, the writing involves the body, the hand, the fingers, the pressure of the grip. The body is now participating. And the moment the body participates, the subconscious takes notice. The subconscious is wired to the body. The 2 of them are in constant communication, so a thought that engages the body is a thought the subconscious has to acknowledge, because the body is asking it to. That is why the lineage was so specific about writing by hand. Typing engages the body less. The fingers move, but the motion is uniform, mechanical, divorced from the shape of the words. Writing by hand is a small bodily act of commitment. The hand has to form each letter. The hand has to slow down enough to make the line readable. The slowdown is the point. The slowdown forces the conscious mind to stay with the message long enough for the deeper mind to receive it through the body. Drop a like if this is hitting you right now. It helps get this in front of the right people who need to see how the machine actually works. Okay, so that is the first floor. Multi-channel input lands the message. The body's involvement in writing forces the deeper mind to take it seriously. Now the second floor. The second floor is the principle Hill called imagination as the workshop of the mind. He was specific about this. He said every achievement begins as an image held in the imagination and fed to the deeper mind through repeated visualization with emotional engagement. The imagination is where the picture gets built. The deeper mind takes the picture and builds reality around it. What does writing have to do with imagination? Everything. Because the act of writing a goal forces you to make the picture specific. You cannot write a vague goal. The page demands a sentence. The sentence demands subject and verb and object. The pen, in motion, refuses fog. It asks for clarity. And the moment the goal is specific on paper, the imagination has something concrete to build around. Picture the difference. Someone wakes up and thinks, vaguely, I want to do better this year. The thought lives in the top half of the circle. The imagination has nothing to grip. There is no picture. The deeper mind receives static and files it as static. The same person sits down and writes, by hand, by January 31st, I will have completed the proposal for the new client, and submitted it. The same intention. Now there is a date, a name, an action. A document, the imagination given those 4 hooks, can build a picture. The picture has weight. The deeper mind, receiving a weighted picture instead of static, treats it as instruction. Hill prescribed this with precision. Read aloud twice daily, once before sleep, once after waking. Both readings of a written statement. Not a thought, a statement. A specific sentence on a specific page in handwriting that belongs to you and nobody else. The specificity is the workshop's raw material. The deeper mind cannot build with static. It can build with a blueprint. What does that look like in observable behavior? Someone writes their goal every morning for 2 weeks. By the end of the second week, they catch themselves making decisions during the day that match the goal. A meeting is offered. They check it against the picture in their head. The picture is sharp because they wrote it sharp 8 days in a row. They say yes or no based on whether the meeting fits. From the outside, they look decisive. On the inside, they have a workshop running, and the workshop is checking every offer against the blueprint on the bench. You see how that operates? The writing is the specifying. The specifying gives the imagination a picture. The picture gives the deeper mind something to build around. 3 floors of architecture inside 1 morning sentence. All right. Now, the third floor. This is where the system starts compounding in a way thinking alone cannot touch. The third floor is paradigm override through sustained impression. Proctor taught this for 60 years. The paradigm is a collection of habits fixed in the deeper mind. The invisible operating system that runs your behavior, your income, your relationships, and your results without conscious permission. Most paradigms were installed before age 6, by environment, by repetition, by the people who happened to be in the room. The installation was passive. You did not choose what got loaded. To change the paradigm, the lineage taught, you have to overwrite it through repetition and emotional involvement until the new program takes the place of the old one. The old program does not vanish. It gets crowded out. The deeper mind has finite shelf space for which program runs in which situation. Whichever program has been impressed most recently, most consistently with the most emotional weight, gets the call. Writing by hand every morning is one of the most efficient overwrite tools the lineage identified. Here is the mechanics. Picture a thermostat. The thermostat is set to 68 degrees. The room temperature drifts. The thermostat checks the temperature against its setting and adjusts. It pumps heat in if the room is too cold. It shuts heat off if the room is too warm. The thermostat is indifferent to whether the setting is right or wrong. The thermostat just maintains the setting. The paradigm is a thermostat for results. Whatever the deeper mind has set as the baseline, the deeper mind will defend. If your old program says, "I am the kind of person who makes $40,000 a year," the deeper mind will pump or shut off heat to keep your results within range of 40,000. If you make more, the deeper mind will produce sabotage that brings you back. If you make less, the deeper mind will produce effort that brings you back. The setting is what gets defended. Proctor learned this the hard way and then taught it for the rest of his life. He went from earning $4,000 a year to $175,000 in a single year, and later earned over $1 million in 1 year. After he reset the thermostat, the reset took repetition. Repetition took writing. Writing took mornings. Every morning, before the day pulled his attention in 12 directions, he wrote his goal, by hand, with feeling, the same statement, with the same intent, on the same page in the morning. What was happening mechanically? The morning writing was a thermostat reset. Not a one-time reset, a daily nudge of the dial. The deeper mind, finding the new setting on the page every morning, started defending the new setting instead of the old one. It took time. The old setting had been there for decades. The new setting needed enough repetition to become the dominant signal. But the dial moved, and once it moved, the deeper mind defended the new position the same way it had defended the old one. What does that look like in observable behavior? Someone writes their goal every morning for 60 days. In week 3, they notice they say no to a small offer they would have said yes to before, because the offer would have kept them at the old setting. In week 6, they notice their default reactions to money are different. Money problems that used to send them into panic now register as logistics. In week 10, they notice the people around them have started to shift. Some leave, some draw closer. The new ones match the new setting. If something in this just clicked for you, drop a comment and tell us what shifted. We read every single one. Stay with me. The 4th floor is where most readers stop and put the book down because it sounds like something other than mechanics. The mechanics are precise. The 4th floor is self-image updating. Vossoffy has carried this principle forward as the centerpiece of his work, and Proctor before him, and Hill before that. The principle states that your results will track your self-image with the loyalty of a shadow tracking a body. Raise the self-image and the results follow. Hold the self-image steady and the results hold steady. Try to raise the results without raising the self-image, and the results snap back the way a stretched rubber band snaps back to its natural length. The self-image is a picture. It lives in the deeper mind. It was assembled from 1,000 small moments before you were old enough to evaluate any of them. A teacher's comment, a look from a parent, a peer's joke, a failure at age 9 that got encoded as identity. The picture is invisible to the surface layer. It runs the show from underneath. Writing a goal by hand every morning is one of the most direct interventions on the self-image the lineage discovered. Here is why. Each morning you write the sentence, you are holding up a slightly different picture of yourself. A picture that includes the goal as already true. The hand writes it, the eye sees it, the mind processes it, the body participates. 3 or 4 channels carrying one message. The message is, this is who you are now. The deeper mind receiving that message daily through multiple channels. Slowly updates the file. The update is gradual. The old self-image was installed over years. The new self-image needs months of consistent input. The sustained morning practice is the input. Picture a compass needle. A compass needle, undisturbed, points north. If you place a magnet near the compass, the needle deflects toward the magnet. Move the magnet away, the needle returns to north. Hold the magnet there long enough. With enough consistency, the needle will track the magnet even after the magnet is removed, because the needle's own magnetization has been altered by the prolonged exposure. The self-image is the compass needle. The morning writing is the magnet held steady. Day by day, the needle's own magnetization shifts. The new direction is now home. What does that look like in observable behavior? Someone writes their goal every morning for 90 days. In month 1, they catch the gap between the goal and how they actually feel about themselves. The gap feels uncomfortable. They keep writing. In month 2, the gap narrows. The sentence reads less like aspiration and more like description. In month 3, the gap closes. The sentence reads like fact. They walk into rooms differently. They speak to themselves differently. The body has reorganized to match the new setting. The compass has remagnetized. That right there, that is the whole game. You see why the lineage prescribed handwriting and not typing? Typing is fast, handwriting is slow. Slow is what the self-image needs. Self-image updates require time on the page. The hand's slowness is the deeper mind's opportunity to absorb. The eye's tracking of the line is the conscious mind's participation. Each morning, 4 or 5 minutes, 3 or 4 channels, one sentence held in front of the deeper mind long enough for the picture to update. Subscribe if you want more of this. We teach from Carnegie, Hill, Nightingale, Proctor, and the full lineage, and we go this deep every single time. Now the 5th floor. We are near the top of the tower, and this floor is what makes the whole structure stand instead of leaning. The 5th floor is sustained impression as a law. Hill called this the law of habit. Proctor called it hypnotic rhythm in some of his lectures, borrowing Hill's language directly. The principle is simple. Anything impressed on the deeper mind, through repetition with emotional involvement, sustained over enough days, becomes permanent. Permanent in the sense that the program runs without conscious effort. Permanent in the sense that the body executes it the way the body executes breathing. Modern brain imaging confirmed what Hill documented in Chapter 4 of Think and Grow Rich, published in 1937. Pathways used repeatedly become physically faster. The science caught up 60 years later. The principle was already on the page. Why does the morning matter so much for sustained impression? Because the morning is when the deeper mind is most receptive. The conscious mind has just come up from sleep. The guard at the gate is still putting on the uniform. Whatever passes through in those first 15 minutes lands at a depth that whatever passes through at 3 in the afternoon cannot reach. The lineage figured this out by observation across decades and over 500 interviews on Carnegie's commission. The high achievers had morning practices. The morning practice was a written practice, or a spoken practice, or both. The morning was when the depth charge went off, picture soil after a rain. Right after the rain, the soil is soft. A finger pressed into wet soil leaves a clean impression. The same finger pressed into dry, packed soil leaves nothing. The morning for the deeper mind is the soft soil. The afternoon is dry, packed soil. Same finger, different impression. Writing your goal in the morning is pressing your finger into wet soil. Doing it again the next morning is pressing into the same spot before the first impression has fully set. By the 30th morning, the spot is a deep pocket. By the 90th morning, the pocket is a permanent contour. The soil has been reshaped. The deeper mind has a new default. What does that look like in observable behavior? Someone who has written their goal every morning for 90 days walks through the day with a quiet center the morning practice put in place. They are less rattled by setbacks because the setting on the thermostat is steady. They make decisions faster because the picture is sharp. They speak about the goal in the present tense without realizing they are doing it. The morning impression has become the day's underlying tone. Here is the part that matters most about sustained impression. The mechanics work by law. The mechanics do not check whether you believe in the mechanics before they run. A wheel rolling on grass leaves a mark whether you are watching the wheel or thinking about something else. The morning writing makes its impression on the deeper mind whether you feel inspired that morning or barely awake. The conditions for impression are repetition, channels engaged, emotional weight when available. When those conditions are met, the impression is made. That is mechanics. Working as mechanics work. The lineage figures, all of them, taught this with a calm certainty that confused new readers. New readers wanted the moment of motivation. The lineage was selling the law. The law operates whether the morning feels good or feels flat. Show up, write the sentence, engage the channels, let the impression land. Some mornings the impression will land hot. Some mornings it will land lukewarm. The cumulative effect over 90 days will be the same shape regardless of which mornings felt big. Let that settle. Now the top floor, the roof of the tower. This is where the structure resolves into a single picture you can carry with you. The top floor is the principle that ties all the lower floors together. The act of writing your goal every morning is the deliberate stewardship of every lower floor at the same time. Multi-channel input, imagination's workshop, paradigm overwrite, self-image updating, sustained impression. 5 floors, 1 act, 5 minutes a morning conducted with intention, executes all 5. Compare that to the alternative. Most days, for most people, the deeper mind is being programmed by whatever happens to land in the first hour after waking. The headlines on the phone, the tone of the partner across the breakfast table, the traffic on the way to work, the first email of the day. Each of those is a piece of input. Each of them lands in the soft soil of the morning, deeper mind. By 10 in the morning, the deeper mind has been programmed by whatever the environment supplied, and the day will run on that program. A morning written goal is a deliberate first input. The first input wins disproportionate weight because the soil is softest then. The lineage figured this out by watching what the high achievers actually did, not what they claimed to do. Across over 500 interviews, the pattern repeated. They controlled the first hour. The first hour was where the day got programmed. The morning written goal was the most efficient form of programming any of them had found. You see why the tower stands the way it does? Each floor depends on the floor below. Without multi-channel input, the message is too quiet for the deeper mind to receive. Without imagination's workshop, the message is too vague for the deeper mind to build around. Without paradigm overwrite, the new message gets crushed by the old setting. Without self-image updating, the results snap back to the old picture. Without sustained impression, the daily nudge fades by Wednesday. Each floor builds on the one below. The roof, the morning written goal presses down on all of them at once and lets the structure settle into place. Hill prescribed this with surgical specificity in Chapter 2 of Think and Grow Rich, the 6 steps to transmuting desire into its physical equivalent. Write the exact amount. Determine what you will give in return. Establish a deadline. Create a plan. Write a clear statement. Read it aloud twice daily. With feeling, once before sleep, once after waking. 6 steps. 3 of them involve writing. 2 of them involve reading what was written. The act of writing is laced through the entire prescription because the act of writing is the multi-channel intervention the deeper mind responds to. Proctor took those 6 steps and built a 60-year teaching career on them. He went from $4,000 a year to $175,000 in a single year, and later to over $1 million in 1 year. By writing his goal every morning, he told that story so many times the audiences could finish it for him. He kept telling it because the story was the proof. The mechanics worked. The mechanics worked on him. The mechanics worked on the people he taught who applied them. The mechanics worked because the mechanics are mechanics, working as mechanics work. Vossofi carries the same teaching forward. His specific contribution has been to emphasize the self-image floor. He says, with a directness that confused some of his early audiences, that your results can never outperform your self-image. The morning written goal is one of the most efficient self-image interventions available. The hand puts the new picture on the page. The eye sees the new picture. The deeper mind, day after day, files the new picture as the new norm. The compass remagnetizes. So when the question comes back around, why write your goal every morning? The answer is now visible. The morning writing is a piece of personal architecture that engages 5 floors of the inner mind in 5 minutes. Multi-channel input lands the signal. The imagination's workshop builds a picture around the signal. The paradigm thermostat resets to a new setting. The self-image picture updates a notch closer to the goal. The sustained impression fixes the new program in the soft morning soil. 5 floors, 1 act, done in the time it takes to make a cup of coffee. The science nobody talks about is the science that has been on the page for almost 90 years. Hill mapped it. Nightingale distilled it. Proctor diagrammed it. Vossofi carries it forward. The current research nods in agreement and adds dates and numbers. The teaching has been the teaching the whole time. Picture the tower one more time. Stone foundation, 5 floors of stone, a roof. The morning written goal is the keystone. Pull the keystone, the roof falls. Place the keystone, the roof holds. The whole structure exists to hold one picture in place long enough for the deeper mind to make it the new default. Picture the soil after a rain. Picture the compass needle remagnetizing. Picture the thermostat being reset by a hand that arrives the same time every morning. Picture the workshop receiving a new blueprint every morning before the day starts. Picture the chord of 3 or 4 channels resolving into one note the deeper mind cannot ignore. That is what is happening when you write your goal in the morning. That is the architecture, that is the science the lineage mapped before there were instruments to measure it, and that the instruments later confirmed. The notebook is plain. The pen is cheap. The sentence is short. The 5 minutes are unremarkable. And the structure those 5 minutes hold up is the structure of a different life from the one the morning would have produced if those 5 minutes had gone to the phone instead. Hill sat across from over 500 people who had built lasting things. 20 years in those rooms, the notebook on the desk was not decor. The notebook was the keystone. The morning sentence was the daily reset of a thermostat the deeper mind would otherwise have set to whatever the environment dictated. The hand on the page, the slow shape of the letters, the eye following the line. The body engaged through the smallest channel of all, and through that smallest channel handing the deeper mind a chord it cannot ignore. That is why you write your goal every morning. That is the mechanism the lineage left in the open for anyone willing to pick up the pen.